All right, it's coming down to the wire. Just a couple more days until my first ever race weekend, and it's been crunch time. So let me show you what we got going on with the car. I've done a lot of stuff since the first time I took it out on track 2 weeks ago, but still have a fair bit of work left due to just silly little delays or mishaps with shipping and the products that I've had to order for the car. It's crazy to think that I'll actually be out on track racing if I get the car done. But let's see, we are in May now, 2023. It was, I guess, October of 2021, October, I think, or November, when I actually decided to put together a plan and take this seriously. So almost a year and a half. So a fair bit of time, but I've accomplished a ton in that time. Just recapping off the top of my head, I obviously got my SCCA competition license. That was the huge step. I went to racing school several times to get that. I got into sim racing. I obviously started this YouTube channel, which has certainly been a challenge for me, just finding the time and energy to make these videos and edit them in my already busy schedule. So I've created a ton of, I'd say a fair bit of really solid contacts who have helped me along the way, who have helped me purchase this car, who have been kind of mentors and shown me the ropes, because I know none of this in terms of actual boots on the ground type stuff. I know a lot, or certainly have a ton of interest in this stuff, and from the outside knew a lot about it, but not in the inner world of how it works, what avenues you can take. So it's crazy to think that I'll actually be in my first car race with other people who have been doing this for a long time in just a few days. All right, so we got the Miata. What have I done since the track day? So I have replaced the front brake pads and rotors. Basically what happened with that was I ordered a full kit of front and rear pads and rotors, and what came in the kit were pads and rotors for the front and rear, but it was missing a lot of hardware. At least I thought it was. This was the first ever brake job I've done, so I wasn't fully sure what it was supposed to come with, and I'm learning everything from scratch on YouTube and from manuals. But if you look closely, those of you who have replaced brakes, you know this, but there's these little clips that go onto the caliper that you have to slide the pads in. And then there's these little, you can't really see them here, but there's these springs inside that attach to the pads and that keep the pads some tension on them so that they're not always squeezing in on the brakes. It kind of separates the pads. And the kit only came with one packet of those for one of the rear wheels. And it took a little while to figure that out of what are these? Why did it only come with one bag? But basically, for about a week now, I've been dealing with customer service, trying to see if they can send them or what the deal is. They weren't able to tell me because it was a drop shipping company. It was Parts Geek, but they couldn't tell me because it was from a manufacturer of the brakes. So anyways, I've been trying to figure that out, but I replaced the front and rear pads and, the front pads and rotors. I'm going to do the rear pads and rotors as well. I also just yesterday did a brake bleed. So all four kind of brake lines, I bled those, had my wife sit in the car and pump the brakes while I went around with a tube and a hose and flushed the brake lines. So hopefully I did that correctly. You can see the brake master cylinder now has some clear brake fluid in it. And so that should be good. So I am going to do the rear brakes tonight, and then I have to bed in the brakes. So that's a whole other thing. You have to, when you replace pads and rotors, you have to do this bedding in process where you do a series of kind of stops, or not complete stops, but going from 35 miles an hour down to 5, repeating that, and then going up to 50, down to 10. And I don't know where I'm going to do that because this car isn't street legal, and I got to take it to the track this weekend for the race. So I have to figure out, basically I'm going to have to do that on my street, even though it's going to be a little bit tricky. So that was the brakes. I also replaced the air intake system, basically going from what was on it before, which was this aftermarket intake and a few other parts, back to stock. So I had to order off eBay this stock, this hose, not the mass airflow sensor, but the air box here, and then this snorkel here that sucks in the air. I had to mount all that. It was pretty easy, but the box came, so here's what came. It came with this extra part, which I realized I didn't need because I'm still using the current one of these. But when I opened this box, I kid you not, I think this is a wasp's nest. This fell out of this hose, and then this one was stuck onto the old air filter inside the air box, and the hose clamps were all rusted, so I couldn't really use those. So I had to order a new air filter, and just little things like that caused these delays. So yeah, it's going, but it's pretty slow going here. Oh, and then the last thing, I've been having my wife help me out with this in addition to the brake bleed and everything. She's helped me a ton. But so we took off some decals. So this Boston Children's Primary Care Alliance, which is still on the hood, getting rid of that. I'm going to leave all the Mazda Speed stickers on, but we need this area here on the sides of the doors to be clean and clear for my number, which is going to go right here, and then some required stickers for SCCA, like club racing here, and then the class I'll be running, SSM, down there. So we need to do that on the side, on the hood, and then on the other side as well, right over there. So she has been helping. We're using WD-40 to get off all this residue, and just soap and water. So yeah, we're doing that as well. So let's go ahead and change the rear brake pads and rotors, and should get that done tonight, assuming I still only have one packet of hardware for that. So my plan is to just use the old clips and springs from one of the rotors and the new ones from the new pack on the other, and see how it goes. So let's do that. And yeah, by the way, obviously the garage is still in shambles, like stuff everywhere. But I have some pretty crazy news I'm not going to share with you guys in this video, and maybe not the next video, but like really crazy news. I think you're going to love it. But stay tuned for that. But yeah, for now, obviously the garage looks how it looks, is what it is. Don't worry, work in progress. We are getting there. If you know what I'm talking about, maybe just don't say anything yet. It'll be a surprise. Okay, so the rear brakes are slightly different because there's the handbrake on it. So I have to release the handbrake, the parking brake, right there. It's not on. And then I guess there is a screw back here to take off. And then inside is a little Allen screw that you have to undo to release the piston from the caliper. All right, so first I've released the handbrake, and now I have to remove this bolt right here. I think it's this one, and inside there is supposed to be an Allen key that I can turn to release the piston. All right, I untorqued that. I'm going to take this out. Okay, I got it here. I'm going to get an Allen wrench and see if it fits inside there. All right, I'm going to stick the Allen key in here and see if this was in fact the right one. Well, I don't know what size it is, but I don't feel any opening in there. So that tells me maybe I removed the wrong bolt. Alright, I think I removed the wrong bolt already. I'm trying to figure out which bolt to remove. I'm going off of several tutorial videos. I thought I had the right one. There's no Allen key in there, so I'm going to put this bolt back on and then try a different one. This is it. I mean, this is why it's so slow, because I have never done any of this, and I have to rely on other YouTube videos, and they're not always the best, or maybe they're on a slightly different car or whatever. Anyways, so it's hard to know exactly what to do. So let me just tighten this back up. I'll probably end up having to remove this one again, but I'm just going to tighten it up and try to remove what I think is the right bolt, which is up higher here. Alright, I found the right bolt. So I just got to find the right size Allen key, and then I'll give that a turn. Okay, now I'm rotating this bolt in here counterclockwise. I guess I stop when I can't turn anymore, which is right about now. I think I went the right way. That is counterclockwise. All right, so now I have to take the guide pin out of the caliper. Sorry about the lighting here. I don't have good undercarriage lighting. But I'm just gonna take this bolt out, and then once I take this out, I should be able to slide the caliper up out of the way and then take the pads out. Well, that's greasy. Oh shit, I should be wearing gloves here. Give this a few more turns. Okay, I've slid out this little bolt, a sliding pin, and now, if that's correct, I should be able to lift the caliper up. Sort of. It's super rusty. So it's not it's not wanting to slide up. I don't want to force it. Let me see. Yeah, I guess that's right. Okay. So I need to get a wire of sorts to hold this upward. Alright, I have no wire or anything to suspend the caliper on. So I'm just kind of holding it. I'm going to take the pads out. So here's one pad. Take the other pad out. And then take these little clips out, these little metal clips. There should be another one in here. And then definitely got to clean this with some brake cleaner. And use a wire brush. Super rusty. Actually, I think I can just remove this caliper. Yeah. Because I'm doing the rotors too. Oh shoot. Oh man. There's a lot of pressure on that hose. Alright. Should be okay there. It's not the best idea to not support them, but it feels kind of sturdy, so just see how that goes. So I may have to bang on this with a hammer to get the rotor off. Alright, I got a rubber mallet here. I use this for the front discs to get them off, so I assume I can do it here, but who knows. Don't have the best angle. Oh shoot. Alright, so that's not good. I gotta keep an eye on this. There we go. Nice. Cool, so that rotor's off. Yeah, it's pretty rusty. I don't know if this is the cause, the fronts, or the rears, or both the cause of me not being able to brake out at that first track session, but yeah, quite a bit of rust on these. Alright, got the pads, rotors, and caliper off. Certainly a good idea to use a wire brush, clean all this down, and then take some brake cleaner, spray it down. So give it a good clean before we put the new rotor and pads on. Woo! Breathing in that rust dust. That can't be good. Alright, got the new the new rotor. I'm going to spray some brake clean on it, clean off the grease that comes on it from the factory, and then mount this. Alright, let's give that a wipe. See, you can see all that kind of grease that's on it. I ran out of my shop towels, or my shop paper towels. Actually, this is probably not good because this is seeing a bunch of lint paper residue here. Yeah, I don't know. See, this is the only kit of hardware that I received with the entire brake kit that was supposed to include everything for a whole brake pad and rotor replacement. I only received one little bag, this one, with clips and springs.
And so there's 4 of these clips that came off the rear wheels, and then 2 of these little tensioner springs, which look like little M's. There's only 2 in the bag. I actually don't even see that the old calipers or the old pads in the brakes use these, but I didn't have any of this for the front wheels. And again, this is my first time doing this, so that confused the heck out of me. So I looked it up, and everything said, yeah, you need to use these springs. The clips look a little bit different, and the springs for the front wheels, but I think they just forgot to include it, and then that slowed me down like crazy because I was on a mission figuring out why they weren't in the bag. Do I need them or not? So yeah, that's what's happening here. All right, this is just one of those times that the urge to quit is so high. I don't want to quit because that was ironic. My battery decided it wanted to quit before I could quit. So don't worry, no one's quitting. It's just frustrating because this is all new. Something that could take maybe 20, 30 minutes takes me an hour and a half, 2 hours. When you add filming into the mix, a little bit longer. So everything is new. So I'm watching tutorials on YouTube and troubleshooting and realizing that what looks like an easy job on YouTube is not, and I can't find the right bolts, etc. So it's hard, but I replaced that rear brake pad and rotor, and so now let's go do the final one. Hopefully it should be a little bit quicker. Well, I knew this was going to be too easy. Started off great, went in with confidence, knew what I was doing, removed 2 bolts, and now the rotor is seized on. I cannot remove it. I've used a hammer, I've sprayed some penetrating oil. It's just stuck there, so I'm at a standstill as of now. 30 minutes trying to get this off. Aha, I did it. I stuck a bolt in. I had to watch a video to find this out and then spend 20 minutes in my garage looking for a bolt that fit. But apparently if you thread a bolt in this little hole here, really tight with a ratchet, it then cracks. You can hear it pop on the rotor, and then I took the bolt out, started hammering, and then it came off. Unfortunately, I'm probably going to recreate this problem because I don't have the anti-seize copper grease or whatever you got to use here to kind of paint onto the hub, but I just don't have that right now, and I don't have time to go grab it, so oh well. Alright, so we got the old rotor off. I'm degreasing the new rotor with brake clean. I'll put that on. Just had to take a little bit of a break. Best friend just called. He got engaged. Congrats, buddy. So yeah, let's put this new rotor on. You know what's just so confusing? Remember how I said I only got one of these bags for the rear brakes? Well, the rear pads that were on before did not have these little M screws, these little tensioner screws right here. But the front ones had them, and I didn't receive them. So I received stuff that I didn't need, and I didn't receive stuff that I did need, at least I think. So it's got me so confused. At least they provided these clips here that go on to the caliper here, but yeah, so confusing. All right, now I'm going to take this high temperature grease and rub it all over the brake pad and all over the rotor so that it gets some nice lubricant in between. No, I'm just kidding. That was a joke. You're supposed to just rub some grease just on the ends here, ends of the brake pad, but not on the brake pad, so that you can slide them into the little pins on the caliper. So I'm going to apply some of that grease right now, being very careful not to get it on the brake pad. That apparently would not be good. Alright, we got the new pads on. I greased up the slide pin up here, and so I'm going to put the caliper back on. Or at least attempt to. I think that's what I do next. So I'm going all by memory. So that's on. Grease this up. Some high temperature brake grease. Okay. That bolts in.
next step is to use the Allen key, the final step, to put the piston back. I don't know. Whatever I did, the opposite of what I did before, releasing the piston from the caliper. Now I'm getting it back in there. So here's something I'm generally struggling with. Maybe you guys can tell me. How much should the rotors be able to spin, or the wheels? And like, how much friction should you have to apply? I know this is the drive wheel, but like, you know, you can hear it. Listen. But I'm really having to torque this wheel to turn it, and so I'm fiddling with the Allen key, which goes back here into this bolt to release and press the piston in for these rear brakes. But I'm just not exactly sure where to leave it. So I'm kind of just going with a little bit of friction here, but not too much. All right, I managed to get all 4 rotors and all 4 pads replaced. It only took, I mean, from the time I ordered them, it's been almost 2 weeks now. But yeah, a lot of trial and error. Everything's new, like I said. So, like, after I learned how to replace the one of the rear brake pads and rotors, this one was super easy. The problem I ran into was the rotor got stuck, and so I was hammering at it for a long time. I used some penetrating oil, different hammers and mallets. Nothing was working, and then I did some research and then found that if you use that little screw, there's a little hole in the rotor that you can put a bolt into and twist and tighten, and then it'll pop off the rotor. And so I had to spend 20-25 minutes looking for a bolt that would fit. So, but once I got that done, I actually did this one by memory. I was able to completely change the pads and rotors here just based on what I remember. I mean, it was super easy. So, like, next time, this will be much quicker, and then the time after that, even quicker. It's just because everything is brand new to me, and so, yeah, it takes a lot longer, and I don't always have the right tools and, a lot of trips to the hardware store. So, great progress. The next step is to bed in the brakes. So that is a critical part of any brake replacement. So, as I said before, I got to go out. I don't know if I said that before, but I have to go out on the road. But obviously this puppy is not street legal, and so I'll try to do it maybe tomorrow night, and just do some runs up and down the street and try to get a good contact patch between the pad and the rotor. So yeah, this is crazy. The decals are starting to go on. If you see here, number 18, that was my number in high school, my hockey number, so I'm going to stick with that. And yeah, I mean, look, just being in this garage and working on a car, it's quiet, like it's pretty relaxing. Generally, it's nice. The challenge where I start to get really stressed is it's crunch time. The clock is ticking. The race is in a few days, and everything is so new. And these jobs that are pretty quick for most people, or people who have done this before, are seemingly bigger tasks for me. And I don't know if I can finish them in time. And there's a lot of logistics that I have to plan with the truck and trailer rental, with the hotels, with registering for the race, with taking off work or planning around work. Any kind of logistical things that I have to plan and be ready for, all while I'm trying to get the car in order, and just being able to do this at nights because I'm busy all day. So it's a lot of stress. But if you take that out of the mix, if it's just working on the cars, it's very peaceful. So yeah, I quite like it.